Alright, so this video is about how I imported a Poser 12 character into VUE software. Let me start by saying I'm not a professional by any means. I'm actually pretty much a beginner at this stuff, and this isn't really an instructional video on importing a character into Vue because it's actually really easy, and there's tons of videos on YouTube that explains how to do it. It's more how I kind of went about creating this animation and how I edited it and added effects and stuff to it to get to the final version, which you'll see at the end. If you don't know, Vue software, Eon Vue, is basically a 3D package for landscapes. It does, animated landscapes. So it's basically just a 3D package revolves around basically creating landscapes, and it's really amazing. And I'm not great at it. And I did not spend a whole lot of time on the actual landscape here. I just wanted to kind of experiment with bringing this poser figure into the scene and seeing how it works. I think it's like really cool that you can actually like bring a character into the scene. I think it like adds a lot. The poser figure isn't great, but maybe if it was more, say, less important in the scene, not so much the main focus of the scene, it could just really be like really cool. And I think I might want to try something for sure, like again in the future, doing this. But so this was my first try at it, and this is the original render. You can see here was like 530 frames. I rendered it at 60 frames per second in case I wanted to slow it down, so it was more frames than I probably needed to render, and it took a while to render. But yeah, so this is it. So the process starts in Poser. Poser has what's called a walk designer. You create a walk, you tweak the walk, and you can apply that walk to the character. Poser handled the simulation of her clothing. The dynamic clothing worked really well, and it exported nicely and imported into Vue with the simulation intact, just fine. So that was cool. I also kind of animated her head some, so I had her kind of looking up, down, left, right, so she looked like she was looking around as she was walking through the scene. And then I thought it would be kind of cool if her hands moved some, so I animated her hands, not really well, but they are moving, so I think it's kind of a cool touch that her hands actually move throughout the scene. This is in Vue. In Vue, I created this landscape. The landscape is based on when I was in Palm Springs, California. That's basically, my thoughts, but it's not really, I didn't really spend a whole lot of time on the landscape itself. Most of in Vue was like animating the camera. Like I wanted like some kind of cool camera effects, like the camera, like rather than just following her, I wanted it to kind of go through the scene. At one point, it kind of goes around the trees. So that was like the main focus of what I wanted to do, and then I rendered it out as a ping sequence, and the ping sequence 530 some frames, which I brought here. You can see I brought it into Lightroom, and I know this is probably different. I don't know if anyone would really do it this way, but I have seen this done. So I actually did like the color grading in Adobe Lightroom. So I opened up one of the frames in Lightroom, and I made some changes to the color to my liking. And then basically you select all the images, and you sync the settings to all the images. So basically you change all the images to match the one. Now here's a plant. So I actually rendered two plants separately from the rest of the scene. This is the first one. I rendered it out with its alpha channel, the black and white channel you can see here, because I wanted to add some effects, like kind of like blurs to it. And here's the second plant rendered out with its alpha channel. Um, and you can see here that's rendered with the alpha channel. And here's kind of like a before, and here's after. You can see the plant on the left. And here's before. Now you'll see the plant go by, like a blurred plant go by the camera. And that's just how I did it, and I think it worked out pretty well. Um, so here I'm in Premiere, and I basically kind of keyframed the blur of the first plant mostly as it went by the camera. So as it went by the camera, I had to blur more as it went out of the scene. Here I'm in After Effects. In After Effects, I added a lens flare to the sun because I wanted the sun to look more like the sun, and I animated the lens flare here to make it look like, for instance, in this situation where the sun was kind of going behind the tree. So I animated the lens flare, keyframed it so that it would kind of disappear behind the tree and then pop back out. And then once I'm back in Premiere here, I actually added the plants again because I wanted the plants to kind of interact more with the lens flare that I had added to the scene. Otherwise, the lens flare was kind of like right in front of the plants. Here I'm back in Premiere. This was like the final thing I added: sound effects, audio, and a vignette. So I added a vignette. I used a black mat and a mask to add this vignette. And so here's, once again, here's the original render straight out of VUE. Sped it up a little so you don't have to watch it again. And here's the final. Alright, so if you made it this far into the video, thanks for watching. Maybe, hopefully you learned something from it. Like I said, I'm new at this, so the way I did it may not be the way most people would do it. And if you would like to make any suggestions or comment, it'd be greatly appreciated. Alright, so thanks for watching.